Greetings all and welcome to Mr. Dig's Deals. I'm Mr. Dig. I'm a small part-time eBay reseller. Today's video is going to be somewhat a little different. It's about taking the rough with the smooth in reselling and reselling on eBay. It's entitled How to Avoid Mistakes Selling on eBay. A personal look into what I myself have done wrong. Now, along the way, from time to time, we all make mistakes and we learn from them. But it's them mistakes, if we repeat them, and things can go really bad for us at times. And I've been to the point where I nearly lost everything a few weeks ago. So, if you're finding me for the first time, thank you very much. If you'd like to hit the little bell down in the corner, I'll be doing more of these videos. So, I hope they'll be of some help to you. So like I say, from time to time in reselling, we all tend to sort of get a little carried away or make mistakes and stuff like that. But it's how we deal with these mistakes and how we can put them right and what mistakes we do make in our journey in reselling. Now personally, I sell on eBay. I only sell on eBay, and I have personally made some shocking, horrible, terrible mistakes selling. The way I've dealt with things. So without further ado, this next part is not more or less a mistake. It's one of the most common questions that anybody that's starting to resell always ask, and it's aimed at the new resellers mainly, or people just thinking about reselling. So basically, one of the most common questions asked from new resellers is, where do I start? How do I get started? Where do I source stock from? Well, to be honest with you, if you're sat at home right now, then the answer to that question is under your very nose, your own nose. And you can start with your own stuff, your own personal belongings. How many times have you sat there, had a sort out, or mum and dad, or grandma and granddad, or brothers and sisters, or friends have had a sort out, and they've said to themselves, well, I'll take this down to the charity shop. Well, stop right there a moment, give yourself a bit of a pause for thought, and think to yourself, well, hang on a minute, I may end up in a charity shop one day, probably looking at the stuff that I've passed by in my own home, and I could have made money on. So, again, take time, have a look around, have a sort out, and the best place you could possibly start is with your own stuff. That way you can be in the comfort of your own home, gauge what you want to sell, what you want to get rid of, and why you want to get rid of it, whether it's you don't use it, whether you've had it from somebody else and you've not wanted it, but been too polite to say, no, I don't want it. So yeah, start with your own stuff in your own home, and it gives you a sense of freedom. You've got nobody breathing over your shoulder to try and take it from you if you put it down and have a look to see what it's worth and stuff like that. But always make sure when you're sourcing from your own home or other people's stuff, just gauge, see, compare prices on eBay. Always look at sold and completes. That way, it'll give you a sense of how much it sells for, what it's worth, how many times it's sold over a frequent period. So yeah, that hopefully is the start of where you'll go on to possibly go into charity shops, but go into car boots, is start with your own stuff. It'll give you a good rough idea how to get on to start with. Right, going back to the title of the video, how to avoid mistakes selling on eBay and reselling. A personal look into the mistakes I've made that nearly cost me everything. And this sort of goes back to the question you've just asked, is where do I start? The next part to that question is, when you've found your stuff to sell, do your research. Don't think for 1 minute you can just pick something out the air, put it on eBay and it will sell. You've got lots of things to consider. You've got prices to consider. You've got what it's already sold for on Sold and Completes. So do your research. Whatever you've got in front of you at the time, sit down, take the time to go through current listings, go through what is currently available to see if you can price match or see if you can just sort of undercut a little bit if you like, if you wish. Because if you undercut by a quid or so, it could be all the difference for when it comes up in somebody searching for it. Also look at Sold and Completes when you're using the filters on the eBay app, because that'll give you a rough idea what things sell for, whether if you had your particular price in your mind to begin with, whether you were right in thinking that, whether you were wrong in thinking that, because at the end of the day you don't want to underprice it and sell it for too less, and you don't want to overprice it, because that way it may not sell and it may be ages. You may have sticky stock, and by sticky stock I mean stuff like that, things you can list and they're sticking around on your eBay and still not getting the views or still not getting any watches or anything like that. So yeah, make sure you do your research. It's key to whether you get sales or partly whether you don't. So there's that to think about. And once you've listed whatever you've got, brings me on to my next point, is once you've listed, make sure in your main titles of all your listings you spell all your listings correctly. Spelling mistakes can cost you money, can cost people looking for particular items, because if you make the spelling mistakes like I personally made, I got real lazy and sloppy in the last 5-6 months, and I would just list something. I didn't give proper descriptions, I didn't give proper measurements if I was selling clothing, I didn't do enough photographs. Now photographs again is important, and that'll probably be the next thing I'll talk about. But if you spell something, make sure you use your keywords as well. And by keywords I mean words associated with your product. It's alright if you've got, say for argument's sake, a cuddly toy or a piece of clothing. Say for argument's sake you've got a really nice dress or a really nice jumper and you just put women's size 12 dress. Well, to be honest with you, someone's going to get a sale over you. Do you know why? It's because, like myself, I didn't bother putting measurements in, I didn't bother putting lengths of garments in, what it was made out of, or anything like that. And my mistakes was to misspell items, because when people search for them items that you're selling, sometimes they simply won't come up, and that can decide whether you get a sale or not, and that will decide whether your stock, whatever item it is going to be hanging around for a long time. So always use your keywords, always be clear on your lengths and prices and item descriptions, because again it could determine whether the fact that you've got a quick sale, slow sale, or no sale at all. And going back onto another part of that, like I said, photographs. Now some items are hard to take more than one photograph of, because some items either sell themselves by one photograph, or some items are trickier to photograph than others. Say if you have a dress or a cuddly toy or a DVD, always make sure you take photographs of at least 4, 5, 6. You can take photographs up close, far away, up above if you need to. The detail work in certain items, to photograph if there's any defects to it as well. so the customer gets a rough idea of what they're buying, because the last thing you want, if you don't photograph it properly, and there's certain things you haven't put in photographs and item description, you're on your way to a return request, where whoever buys your items will want to return it because of not stated in clearly enough in your item description or photographs. If it's new with tags, clothing wise, put it's new with tags if need be, or in the description that you get in your item listing, just simply put a brief description of if it's new, old, used, whether it's got defects, whether it's been used once, twice, never at all. You can see where I'm going with this, because I personally have made them mistakes where I haven't been clear enough, I haven't told the whole truth, I haven't photographed them properly, and still to a certain degree I still do that now, where my photographs could be a lot better, and then I find myself having to go back to a listing and take better photographs. There are different ways and means you can take good photographs. There's plenty of lighting you can use for photographs, and backdrops, and various other bits and pieces like that can improve sales. What's next? Obviously, as well, when you first start out and you get a new eBay account, you're going to have certain listing restrictions, only because you've not got a proven track record, and everyone has to start off with restricted listings to a certain degree. But once you've got a few sales behind you and a few decent customer feedback from your sales, your listings will increase. And the more you sell is a better way to get a listings increase, because eBay every month goes and reviews your account, and depending on what your sales are like, how much you've sold, and whether you get decent customer feedback, because the customer feedback can affect your eBay account quite a lot. So that's why it's all important to all the stuff I've mentioned to get it all right, because a customer could either leave you good feedback, neutral feedback, or bad feedback. Now, all the bad feedback will go against you, trust me. I have and am in that position where I've told customers a certain thing and I've not lived up to my promises, or I've shipped out items that I haven't, again, going back to photographed correctly. Sorry for the little noises on my phone, just notifications coming through. So yeah, you have to keep your customers happy. That will also determine whether you get repeat orders from your customers, depending on what you're selling. Like I say, and list as much as you can, even if it's 5 items a day. Because what we're talking about, that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 items a week, if you can possible. And it all helps, and it all goes towards bumping up your store if you've got a store, or if you're just a private seller, as well. And that brings me again to a point with customers. Now, personally, I have dealt with customers in some shoddy, terrible ways at times, and that has cost me big time. How you deal with customers and returns can be a tricky one, because it can really get you down, it can really annoy you, but the way you deal with them, the way you get your point across to customers about saying how sorry you were for bad transactions, especially if they want to return something, because obviously a return means they want a refund or partial refund, then you've got to go through all that, and that'll bring me on to my next point, refunds and money in your PayPal accounts. So yeah, the way you deal with customers can determine on whether you get good feedback, repeat orders, and decent feedback, so your eBay store is up to 100% feedback wise. Now personally, in the past I've made mistakes where customers wanted to return things and I've tried to talk them out of it, but 9 times out of 10 eBay will probably almost side with any customer, and there's odd occasion as a seller that they will side with you, but trust me, from my point of view, and lots of other people's point of view, once a customer has opted or thought about wanting a refund, then give them a refund. Don't say sorry, can't do it, would you take a partial refund and stuff like that, because again, the feedback from them will be important. Now I personally have made the mistake in the past of telling customers, well, I don't want it back, maybe you can try and sell it yourself. I'm sorry, but they're a buyer, they are not a reseller. And if I was thinking about it at the time, I should have dealt with it a lot differently. For instance, I bought from a charity shop a large round Winnie the Pooh clock that cost me $4.99, and it ended up being one of my best all-time sales. I let it go for £55, and a few days later I got a return request, which I was absolutely gutted about. Now this woman, or person or persons, whichever the case may be, can't remember properly, wanted to return it because it didn't fit on their wall properly. Now you can argue the point of, well, why didn't they measure it? That's not the point. They're not happy, they want to return their item, they want their money back. Don't argue. Unless you have a valid point, do it. Because at the end of the day, again, going back to feedback, you don't want negative feedback. And I personally turned around and told that person, yeah, okay, well, can you not sell it yourself? No, they didn't want to hear that. So luckily for me, on that occasion, she decided to keep it and sell it for a bit of a loss to a friend. But again, how you deal with customers, returns and stuff like that will go against in negative feedback. Going back to money as well, you've got all your sales, you've got all your decent feedback and stuff like that. Now you've got to contend with fees, and shop fees and eBay fees and PayPal fees. Now it costs a percentage to sell through both eBay and PayPal, and of course if you've got a shop subscription, it costs you your shop subscription as well. But personally, I have made the mistake in the past when my fees have been due, customer wants returns, and fees and all that for eBay and PayPal have been taken out. I haven't had the money in there. Always make sure you leave enough money just in case somebody wants a return, when your fees are due, when your PayPal fees are due and stuff like that. Because I made the mistake of taking all my money out, making my customers wait for their money back. They're not happy, they leave even more terrible feedback, and eBay see this and they can reduce the way you list your stuff, and how much you can list. So having said all that, again, I've made mistakes. I ain't perfect. I'm not proud of the mistakes I've made. Along the way, you are going to make mistakes, genuine mistakes, and it's okay to fail. And it's okay to fail, because once you fail, you learn by the mistakes, or you should learn by them mistakes. I hope some of this has been of help to you. Like I say, I'm not perfect, and I am no expert. This is a personal look into my failings as a reseller, and I don't want you guys out there to make the same mistakes I have made. So I hope this has been of some help and it's opened your eyes into potential cock-ups and stuff like that. Thank you for watching. Like I say, I hope to do a lot more how-to videos in the future. So if you'd like to stick around and see all sorts of different content, hit the like button. Thank you for watching, much appreciated. Click the little bell in the corner so you'll get updates as to when I upload videos. So till the next time, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've understood that, again, I'm not perfect and I am genuinely sorry for my mistakes. So this is Mr. Diggs signing out. Thank you very much. Cheers, guys.